So DJing definitely came before production for me. I think I was DJing for about 6 years before I started producing, but I'd wanted to produce for like maybe 3 years before I actually pulled my socks up and started. When I started producing, I'd definitely say I looked up to a lot of producers that make sort of crossover music. So people like Martin, Unit, Cooley G, Iconica, Bok, Pestle Audio, guys like Pearson Sound and Pangea. And yeah, lots of like UK producers, club music producers from all over the place that blend different sounds. My mum is from Ghana, so she used to play a lot of like kind of highlife Ghanaian music with like a lot of different rhythms and also like very cheesy like 80s like kind of big ballads like Celine Dion, that type of thing. And then my dad is like super into all different types of music like jazz, soul, rock, pop, like electronica, just like a big mix of everything. So I think he's been the more like influential one. But he'd play like loads of different, I just remember like a lot of the CDs he'd play like in the car. So it was like Basement Jaxx, Led Zeppelin, like soul classics, like kind of dance kind of compilations and stuff. So I think that gave me like a really good like mixed kind of education. So the starter setup for DJing was two very old Stanton belt drive turntables with a really bad, like really old battered Newmark mixer, and the Newmark, like the cheapest headphones I think you can get like online, them. And then I think about a year after just doing vinyl, then I got the Serato box with like the control records, so then I could use my laptop and like use digital tracks as well. Did that for a bit and then eventually learnt CDJs a few years later. So production I started with Ableton, still using that, and literally just Ableton and headphones. And then now I've got like a few more kind of hardware bits. I kind of mainly just use like the software, to be honest with you, and then like I've got a few plugins now that I'm mixing. Definitely in the beginning, I found sort of like mixing down quite difficult because I didn't really know like the technical rules and stuff, which obviously now I know they can be broken and can they? I don't know, controversial, but yeah, like there's definitely certain rules with mixing down that I think I probably should have just like, you know, tried to learn from the beginning rather than just trying to do everything by ear, because that I think has taken a bit longer to learn and just kind of like train my ears. And yeah, I would say that was probably the most difficult thing, but it's been something that I've learned over time with a bit of experience, and also like sitting with other people and seeing how they do it, and then I'm like, okay, well I do it this way, and then we can kind of like learn from each other a bit. So yeah, mixing down I'd say is definitely a difficult one, still learning, but yeah. With the earlier productions, whenever I listen back to things, even stuff that I made like a year ago, I think 'cause I'm always like learning, whenever I listen back to anything I'm like, I should have done this, like could have made it better by doing this, and I think that's just a part of like growing. But I think definitely now I'm much better at like hearing what needs to be changed like in the mix and like mixing things down, and I've got like a bit quicker at doing that. So I'd say that's like the main thing when I listen back that I'm like, it makes me a bit uncomfortable because I feel like I could have made them better. I always find myself using, say if I make like a basic like drum pattern or something, I always find like these little sound effects or game sounds just to like sprinkle in, and I just like can't help myself. With like almost every track there's like a little something buried in there that's like a kind of sound effect or like sci-fi kind of sounds. I think that's like turned into my thing a little bit. My first EP, that was all made like during COVID. So that came out of like a pretty dark place. So it has like pretty dark elements to it, but was also like a bit more, I don't know, because we were not clubbing and like kind of reminiscing about like the good times and stuff. There was a bit of like hopefulness in there, and I was imagining like what it would sound like when clubs are open again. And then like my second EP, which was like a follow-up from that, was when everything was open, but it seemed to be more of like an apocalyptic kind of vibe. And I think they kind of like were opposites in a way, because it was sort of like an abstract imaginary thing. My brain was in like an outside kind of place, if that makes sense. But yeah, everything I make tends to be pretty like end of the world kind of themed, which someone said to me the other day, that were like, why is it all so like destruction and dark? Which I don't think it really is like that much, but that's just naturally like, I think where my brain goes when I'm making like dance floor or like club music. But also during COVID, I think it was during the second lockdown, I started like a new alias for more like beatsy, like instrumental type stuff. And that was from a really that was probably like my lowest point. And all those tunes were kind of way more like emotional and like a bit more like free form. And I made them all super quickly because they came out of that like emotional place. But yeah, what's next? I am thinking about doing a project that's more to do with like Ghana and like going there and recording some sounds, because I went earlier this year with my sister, and then like just experiencing it as a bit more of an adult than the last time I went. I was like, actually, when I go there, like the music is so, it just like, it feels like it kind of goes through my whole body, and I was like, I've really got like a strong connection to it, so I want to do something with that next. When my first EP came out, so it was a few months before everything like reopened, and in September I played at Waterworks in London, and then after the set it was like maybe like just getting dark, and I was walking around and I went to watch Jossy Rebel, and as I walked into like the crowd, she just played my tune. Like she played the tune. I think that was the first time I'd heard it like out like properly, and like she didn't know I was in the crowd, and I was just like, oh my god, like what? It's like saying to everyone around me that like didn't even know me, I was like, this is my tune, like she's playing my tune. Like that was like a really special moment. I think it will always be open for me, or like maybe because over the years I've sort of like kind of usually played like a mix of things, but it's also like evolved a bit over time. Like at one point it was more like bassy stuff. At the moment it's a bit more like structured with like, you know, techno mixed in there and stuff like that. Maybe in future I'll feel like sticking to more of one thing, I don't know. I like the idea of it just being open as an individual to like whatever you're into. So I think I'll always just go with the flow and do what I want, basically. One of the biggest things for me that helps me actually start after like wanting to for ages and just like putting it off was my friend Impy told me to just like make a folder and start adding like samples in there that I like. So that was something easy that didn't require like a lot of time or like energy. I'd just go through like sample packs and then be like, oh, I like that hi-hat, or I like that sound effect, and then just made a folder of maybe like 50 or 100 tunes, 50 or 100 sounds to start with, and then when I felt like starting I had something ready to go, and then it also kind of sounded like me from the beginning because it was just the sounds that I liked, so that was really helpful. And then I also made a playlist, like a production inspo playlist, so anytime I'd hear a track where I was like, oh, I really like that, or there's something in there that I want to like be able to do, I'd add more to this playlist, and then just sort of like either try and copy it or like just take inspiration from it and then like put it into a new kind of format or sound, and that was super helpful. I think I'd just say like, just start earlier, you know, or just, you know, don't feel like you need to put it off because you won't be good at it. Like, I don't really mind being bad at things, but I think I put it off for ages because I was just a bit scared of like, what if it doesn't work out, or like, what if I can't do it? But the truth is, like, I don't think anyone is born like knowing, no one's born like knowing how to use Ableton or like software. It's something you have to like just work at for a little bit. And I think, you know, there's nothing wrong with asking for help either. I think I spent ages like, I taught myself, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that either, but I think I would have got more done sooner if I just like hit up one of my friends and was like, can I just watch you for a bit, or like, can we do a session? Like, they definitely would have said yes, and I would have probably learned, you know, things in an easier way rather than like trying to do everything the hard way. So yeah.